White supremacy a global threat, says UN chief.
Here's a summary of the article.
White supremacy constitutes a transnational threat, the UN Secretary-General has warned. Antonio Guterres also said racist groups had exploited the coronavirus pandemic to boost their support. He said, white supremacy and neo-Nazi movements are more than domestic terror threats. Today, these extremist movements represent the number one internal security threat in several countries. His successor, Joe Biden, has said the 6 January siege of the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters was carried out by thugs, insurrectionists, political extremists and white supremacists. Michelle Bachelet, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, is due to report on 18 March on a global inquiry the body launched after George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis last May, when a white police officer knelt on his neck for nearly 9 minutes. In a further remark, Mr. Guterres also accused authorities in some countries of using the COVID-19 crisis to deploy heavy-handed security responses and emergency measures to crush dissent, without naming names.
This post received a score of 49,000, with an upvote ratio of 65%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
His full speech is here. Transcript. It's 15 minutes long and he talks about racial supremacy groups for 1 minute, starting at 8:11. I guess the media cherry-picked this part of the speech because they know it's controversial and will generate many clicks, both by people who strongly agree with him and people who disagree. He also didn't use the wording global threat. He said transnational threat. I think that's a bit of a difference.
It's a big difference. Thanks for giving it some context.
Yeah, I was gonna say lol. White supremacy absolutely is a threat, one which spans multiple different countries, but I'm not sure it's necessarily the number one pressing issue for people in, say, Japan or Ghana right now. Edit. It's been hilarious to watch how half the replies to this have been, actually white supremacy is literally the root of everything currently wrong with the world, and the other half have been, actually white supremacy only extends to 4 rednecks wearing hoods in the forest.
I mean, racial supremacy isn't just white supremacy.
If you look into political turmoil in the Middle East and African countries, it will often involve ethnic minority groups. Like they are not even subtle about it.
Sect plays a major role in conflicts, which isn't something all that well understood in places like the US. If you're born into a sect, in many countries, that is your identity, whether you like it or not. Even in Ireland, you had the Protestant Udder and Catholic Ira. These weren't devout people in any sense, this was just the sect they were assigned at birth, and the long-standing grievances fuel sectarian conflict in places like Belfast. The key point is that local grievances must always be closely analyzed when examining any kind of conflict on a sectarian basis, or even militancy in general. It plays a much larger role than abstract ideologies, though those play a role as well.
My bio teacher always taught that people are tribal in their nature. Some sort of evolutionary trait, I suppose, and he always liked to point out how tribalism runs through all facets of life, even in first world countries, e.g., we have our football teams, our school rivalries, our loyalties to any and everything, really. It's funny how we're kind of set up for failure when it comes to tolerating other communities when you think about it that way.
It's actually one of the bigger arguments for stuff like the Olympics. It allows us to channel that tribal energy into a global commonality. Doesn't always work the best. See authoritarian regimes using sports washing. But playing and winning at the global stage is a dream for kids everywhere.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.